Okay, we'll go ahead and come back into session and take up item D4 on our time certains, planning and building services, a couple of proposals for respective elements to our general plan. Good morning, Galen.
Thank you. Yes, the board will recall that we've been before you a few times regarding both the energy and housing element. The housing element is due to be updated by, I guess, June of 2014, so we're right at the start of that. We really need to get moving on it in order to be able to update it. We came to the board and asked for permission to circulate an RFP. You said yes, circulate an RFP. Made some changes to the proposal. We circulated that and got back some proposals, and we're recommending that we go with PMC's proposal. The president of PMC is here. Then also, we put this on the same agenda because it's the same funding source, although they would be moving, in the future they'd be moving on their separate paths. We're recommending geothermal funds for use to update both elements. The assessor, or I'm sorry, the auditor has confirmed that we can indeed do that. We have reviewed the pertinent public resource code to allow that. We've circulated a proposal for the energy element as well. We got back two proposals. We're recommending DUDEC for that proposal. And Catherine Waugh is in the audience, is available as well if you have any questions. So basically we're asking for permission to move ahead with the staff's recommendations as to the appropriate consultants. And if you give us that direction, we would start working on contracts, and we would be back at a future date for an actual contract to have the elements prepared. It's kind of brief, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Like I said, the consultants are in the audience.
Thank you very much, Galen. Supervisor Alba?
Yeah, Galen, I got a question on page 6, on your housing element. You have a population of 25,000. And then if you go to page 13 on the energy element, you have a population of 35,000.
I think it's what they're considering, what the housing element and the you know, I don't have it right in front of me, so I couldn't tell you the firm answer. I can get that for you certainly, but I think it's a matter of considering the city, the county as a whole, and Mr. Chapman might have something.
I can make
Yeah,
a
right.
I think as far as the housing element is concerned, all we're concerned about are the 25,581 people who are not incarcerated in one of the three prisons. And so basically the 35,000 number is the county population, including inmates, where the 25,000 would reflect that number backed out. And as far as the energy element is concerned, I still think that, and this is an issue I know Marty is working on with staff, and I've had some contact with staff too. Yeah, they're going to be bringing a workshop to the board, but we need to come up with some specific, these kind of guidelines that we adopt that are standardized, which basically back out of the census numbers. You have to acknowledge what the census numbers are, but as far as practicality of what they mean, we need to back out that prison population, because they're not providing for the housing for those 25, or for that matter, for those 10,000 people. That's why we should use 25,000. I think the same thing would be true of the energy element or any of the other documents that we have in terms of what is prison population, what's regular population, and then we have your combined equal to what the census or the Department of Finance shows as the overall county population. I believe that would be the source of this answer. I have a couple questions.
Yep, you bet. Go ahead, Jim.
On page 2, you have under this is at towards the bottom, the last paragraph. You show that you were publishing the RFP package in the Lassen County Times on December 11, 2013. So I think that should probably be corrected to be 2012. That's 6 months from now. So just for the record, make sure that, I know we play Back to the Future a lot, but that one I thought was kind of, that one jumped right off the page at me, and I thought, geez, Stan said he hasn't even put that one to bed yet. So
That is
you know,
right.
but right above that, what got me saw that was I was concerned or interested in the discussion subsequently in consultation with the auditor, and I did get to read the memo, the letter to the auditor and the auditor's response back to, which are attached on pages 4 and 5. But I, you know, just because the auditor says doesn't necessarily mean I appreciate why. Now, the source of funding for the geothermal fund, I believe, comes in there's a funding stream that's specific for that, that relates to the geothermal resources, and those funds are, you know, collected for on the pretext of making sure that the geothermal resources are properly managed, properly used, you know, whatever sort of, anything that would be germane to those, that resource base is what those funds are designed for. And I just have a hard time appreciating the leap of faith that even the auditor makes of trying to connect the use of these should be dedicated, focused funds, geothermal funds, for something like as generic as the housing. I mean, it's not because we can, but is it a smart thing to do that? Because as time goes on, and if the geothermal resources are developed, and are being developed, there are going to be impacts that's going to have. I mean, whether it's on the roads or how you utilize those, or even in terms of the depreciation of the resource and how that's basically either replaced or how it impacts the immediate area with subsidence of the ground. And there are a lot of hosts of factors there, and those monies I think should be kept. I mean, using it for the energy element I think is spot on.
Right, exactly.
There's no debate there. But I really question the wisdom of utilizing that funding source for the housing element side. And so I just, after reading the memo, both to the auditor from staff and the auditor's response to staff, to be honest with you, I wasn't convinced by either. And then on page 3, which dealt with the energy element as well, and could you maybe elaborate for me? I mean, the dollar difference is $5,000 or $6,000 between this Judith firm and the IEC firm in terms of their response to the RFP. And I would just be curious as to why, more so why staff felt that Dudek, even though it was slightly more, you know, was the preferred direction to go. So,
I think it was in capacity and understanding. That first one that which you felt was pretty important. Just the you know, if you look at DUDEC, they have expertise in energy. They're pretty broad. They have. I just felt like they had a bigger understanding of what the project was, what it would need, and it was demonstrated in the RFP in conjunction with their experience and their reputation, and you know, those sorts of things. So it was. I would say the energy connection was probably the one of the bigger ones.
so they're not like a housing firm.
You know, or they may be able to do that.
I think that's a good answer, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the response of staff, and my only recommendation is maybe in future staff reports and stuff, when you make those kind of determinations, it would be good if that could be, you know, stated clearly in the staff report, so not only the board can understand it, but the
Your
public.
packet, the resume, you saw the projects they did.
Oh, yeah.
They've done.
I mean, and they're part of the packet we have here.
Right.
But in terms of discerning that, I mean, we have DUDA in here, but we don't have IEC to compare. So to understand what that comparison, I mean, I appreciate the diligence and work they put forth, so I knew there was a clearly stated reason, and I just wish it would have been expressed in that, but appreciate the answer.
Any other questions, comments by board members? Larry, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I just get a little bit of history on what the origination